She wasn't asking for favors, just a seat on a Black Hawk already headed north. But when she stepped forward with her duffel, the flight officer shook his head. The manifest was closed. No exceptions. She didn't argue. She just stepped aside and waited. That's when a colonel caught sight of her, and froze. Not because he recognized her name. Not because of her rank. But because of the faint patch on her sleeve, half hidden beneath a faded windbreaker, an emblem that wasn't supposed to exist. He walked over, said 2 quiet words, and everything on the flight line changed. You ever walk into a place and instantly know you don't belong there? That's what Camp Verdun felt like, if your uniform didn't carry the right patch or your orders didn't come from the right people. It was a forward staging post on Kuwait's edge, a way station where everything moved fast and nobody asked questions they didn't want answered. The air reeked of jet fuel and desert dust, that dry metallic tang that sticks to your skin for weeks. Helicopters squatted across the tarmac like sleeping beasts, Black Hawks, Apaches, a few old Chinooks that looked tired of fighting other people's wars. The low hum of generators blended with the rumble of supply trucks, forming that background drone every soldier eventually stops hearing. Staff Sergeant Mara Daniels stepped out from the thin shade of a storage shed, duffel slung over one shoulder like it weighed nothing. Her fatigues were clean but unmarked, no name tape, no unit insignia, just standard-issue boots and the posture of someone who'd seen too much to care about appearances. She moved with the steady precision of habit, every motion deliberate. Only if you watched closely could you spot the slight hitch in her left step, a quiet reminder of something that had broken once but refused to quit. At the edge of the tarmac, 2 MPs guarded a hangar as if it held the nation's secrets instead of a med supply run. Behind them, a Black Hawk's turbines began to whine, that high, steady note building toward the rhythmic chop that would soon slice open the sky. Mara approached calmly, speaking with the quiet confidence of someone used to solving problems. Afternoon. Staff Sergeant Daniels. Hoping to catch a seat north on the med run. I know I'm not on the manifest, but... The first guard, barely old enough to rent a car, didn't even look up from his clipboard. Manifest's full. No walk-ons. I understand, but this is urgent, someone specifically request. The second MP cut her off with a dismissive flick of his hand. Orders are orders, ma'am. Next flight's tomorrow. Maybe. Mara just nodded once, no argument, no change in expression. She stepped back and found a spot on an empty fuel drum near the fence. The metal burned through her fatigues, but she sat anyway, duffel at her feet, eyes tracking the chaos around her. Behind her, 2 young soldiers joked loud enough to be heard. Check her out, one said. Probably some admin type trying to hitch a ride. Walks like she's still in boot camp. His friend snickered. Yeah, bet she's never seen a real patrol. Mara heard every word. Her hand tightened briefly on the duffel strap, then relaxed. Years of discipline kept her face calm. In the military, silence was often the smartest answer. The 2 soldiers strutted past, credentials waved through without question. Their pressed uniforms and confidence opened doors hers no longer could. She watched the Black Hawk's blades pick up speed, the thumping pulse of lift filling the air. That helicopter could save someone's life tonight, but not if she wasn't on it. So she waited. Because sometimes waiting was the only move left. The night before, Mara's phone buzzed with a sound most people never hear anymore, the sharp crackle of an encrypted line that shouldn't have existed since the program was shut down. She'd been lying on a bunk in a concrete barracks that smelled like disinfectant and burnt coffee, half asleep, when the old satellite channel came alive. Staff Sergeant Daniels, a voice said through static. It's me, Toby Hendricks. She sat up before her brain caught up with the words. Toby. She remembered him immediately, the medic from her training team years ago. Bright, fast learning, always the one to volunteer for the impossible. Toby, she said, her voice steady. What's your situation? Not good, ma'am. Took shrapnel yesterday on a sweep outside Alzheimer. They patched me up, but something's wrong. Infection maybe. I'm I'm scared, ma'am. The silence that followed was filled with the faint hum of the secure line, like a heartbeat underwater. Who's your attending? She asked. They're rotating staff. Nobody's sure what to do. They're talking about amputation. Mara was already reaching for her gear before he finished the sentence. The old reflexes never died. You're asking for me specifically? She said. Yes, ma'am. I know you're out now, but if there's any chance. I'll be there, she said. No paperwork. No chain of command. Just a promise. The morning had started like every other in a place that didn't officially exist. Gray dawn creeping over corrugated roofs, generators coughing themselves awake, the desert already whispering heat. Mara packed with the mechanical precision that only comes from long habit, every piece of gear placed where it belonged, every pocket filled with intent. Her trauma kit went in first, custom-built from years of experience and personal tweaks the supply clerks would never approve. She checked her prosthetic brace, a narrow exosupport hugging her left shin, tightening it with practiced ease. The shrapnel that tore through her leg outside Fallujah 3 years ago had left her 2 options: accept the limits, or work around them. She'd chosen the second. Before zipping her bag closed, she pulled out a coin, dull silver, edges worn smooth. A black phoenix engraved on one side, rising from a field of ash. No motto, no unit code, nothing a stranger would recognize. She slipped it into her boot. Iron Nomad. Not a person, not a team. A protocol. A covert medical initiative that never happened. Operatives who went where regular medics couldn't go, saving people who officially didn't exist. No records, no medals, no after-action reports, just whispered acknowledgments in dark corners. Mara had been one of them. Until the day everything ended. The injury. The shutdown. The silence. But sometimes, silence remembers your name. Now, back on the flight line, the air shimmered with heat. Crew chiefs moved with mechanical urgency, double-checking straps, gauges, and manifests. The Black Hawk's blades were already spinning, each revolution a countdown she could feel in her chest. She rose from the fuel drum and tried once more. "Excuse me," she called, calm but firm. "I understand you're full, but someone up north requested medical assistance. He's fading. I need to be on that bird." The guard didn't even meet her eyes. "Ma'am, unless you've got orders signed by a general, you're not going anywhere." Mara nodded, stepped back. And then, for the first time that day, she stopped playing invisible. She peeled off her windbreaker, folding it over her arm. The sleeve of her undershirt caught the sun, and there it was, the black-on-gray phoenix patch, half-hidden, unmistakable to those who knew. A nearby crew chief froze mid-stride. His eyes darted to her sleeve, widened slightly, then dropped in silent acknowledgement. He said nothing, just kept glancing back, like he was trying to decide if ghosts could wear uniforms. That's when Colonel David Rourke stepped out of the command tent. The air shifted the way it always does when authority walks into chaos. Conversations hushed. Postures straightened. Even the wind seemed to wait for permission. Rourke was the kind of officer who didn't need to raise his voice, the way he carried himself did it for him. Late 50s, lean and steady, with the stare of a man who'd seen too many things filed under classified. He was halfway through a briefing when his eyes caught the patch. He stopped mid-sentence. His XO nearly walked into him. "Sir?" the XO asked. Rourke didn't answer. His gaze stayed locked on Mara, the posture, the stance, the calm alertness. Then he saw the phoenix clearly. His jaw tightened. "God Almighty," he murmured. He crossed the tarmac without hesitation. Every step deliberate, his boots hitting the ground like punctuation marks. Mara stood as he approached, posture instinctively straightening. She didn't salute. Neither did he. "Iron Nomad," he said quietly, the words almost lost in the engine noise. She gave a small, wry smile. "Was. A long time ago." Something softened in his expression, respect, maybe even relief. "You're not on the manifest," he said. "No, sir. Didn't ask to be. Just need to get north. Someone needs me." That was enough. Rourke turned, barked a few words to the MPs. The reaction was immediate: confusion, then panic, then obedience. Within 2 minutes, a name disappeared from the list, replaced by one that wasn't supposed to exist. A crew chief jogged over. "Ma'am, you're cleared for boarding." Mara slung her duffel over her shoulder, walked toward the waiting Black Hawk. As she passed the 2 soldiers who'd mocked her earlier, their smugness dissolved into open curiosity. "Who the hell is she?" one whispered. His friend shook his head. "Whoever she is, the colonel just moved heaven and earth to get her on that flight." At the ramp, Colonel Rourke waited. When she stopped in front of him, he did something that silenced the entire flight line. He saluted. Not the quick, casual kind, the old school, full respect kind, the one that means "I know exactly who you are." Mara hesitated a second, then returned it, crisp and sure. Then she climbed aboard, disappearing into the dark cabin. Rourke watched her go, the rotors thundering overhead. His XO stepped up beside him. "Sir, how should I log this? Tactical priority? Admin override?" Rourke's eyes stayed on the helicopter as it lifted off. "Neither," he said. "Log it under necessity. Sometimes the right person belongs in the right place, whether the paperwork agrees or not." Inside the Black Hawk, the familiar vibration of the floor plates thrummed through Mara's boots, a rhythm she hadn't felt in years but hadn't forgotten for a second. The hydraulic hiss of systems coming online, the sharp tang of aviation grease, the slight pressure building behind her ears, it all felt like home and ghost at once. She stowed her duffel beneath her seat, strapped in with the fluid precision of someone who'd done this dance more times than she could count. Across from her, a young Navy corpsman fumbled with his harness, stealing quick glances her way. His eyes lingered on the black phoenix patch barely visible beneath her half-zipped jacket. He didn't ask, but she could see the curiosity eating at him. Everyone had heard the whispers. Iron Nomad, the medics who went where medics weren't supposed to go. The ones who showed up before the smoke cleared and left before the cameras arrived. Ghosts in uniform. The corpsman finally spoke. "Ma'am, are you medical?" Mara opened her eyes, calm and direct. "Yeah. You could say that." He hesitated, then blurted out, "Is it true? About Iron Nomad? That they worked, off the books?" The cabin went still. Even the aircrew pretended not to listen while listening. Mara studied him for a moment. The kid couldn't have been older than 23, still believed in clean endings and neat reports. "They didn't teach us much," she said finally. "Mostly we learned by surviving." He frowned. "But the patch." "It's not about the patch," she interrupted softly. "It's about showing up when nobody else can." That ended the conversation. The corpsman nodded, eyes lowered, chastened but thoughtful. The helicopter lifted, the earth dropping away beneath them. The sound of the rotors filled every empty thought, that deep rhythmic pulse that feels like a countdown and heartbeat at once. Mara leaned back, closed her eyes, and let the vibration settle into her bones. She wasn't thinking about ghosts or legends. She was thinking about Toby Hendricks, scared, bleeding, alone in a tent that probably smelled like antiseptic and fear. They touched down 90 minutes later at a forward field hospital that looked like it had been dropped out of the sky, green canvas tents, mud-choked walkways, and the constant metallic scent of blood and diesel. As soon as the rotors slowed, Mara grabbed her duffel and hit the ground running. She didn't check in, didn't salute, didn't wait for permission. She already knew where to go. Toby lay in the overflow ward behind the main medical tent, a cot under camouflage netting that barely cut the heat. His leg was wrapped in blood-soaked bandages, the color draining from his face like water from a cracked canteen. When he saw her, disbelief flickered through the pain. "Ma'am," he croaked, voice hoarse. Mara dropped to one knee beside him, already reaching for his chart. "Easy, soldier. I've got you." His vitals were bad. Too fast, too shallow, the kind of rhythm that meant the body was running out of time. Whoever had patched him up had done their best, but it wasn't going to be enough. "I didn't think you'd actually come," Toby whispered. Mara met his eyes, steady and unblinking. "We don't leave our own," she said simply. A young medic approached, nervous but trying to sound authoritative. "Ma'am, I need to see your credentials before you." "Saline, fresh gauze, a thermal blanket," she said, cutting him off without looking up. "And tell me exactly what kind of shrapnel we're dealing with." The medic blinked, uncertain. "Ma'am, I..." She looked up then, her expression calm but edged with steel. "Son, that man's been bleeding for 18 hours while you process forms. You can check my credentials later. Right now, you can help me save his leg, or you can explain to his mother why you didn't." That did it. The medic turned and sprinted for supplies. For the next hour, Mara worked with the focus of someone who didn't have room for mistakes. Her hands moved fast, efficient, sure, the kind of precision that comes from doing this 1,000 times under worse conditions. She reopened the wound, flushed it clean, cut away the dying tissue, and stabilized the bleeding. She issued orders like a conductor leading an orchestra, short, calm, absolute. The medics followed, more from instinct than training. Gradually, Toby's breathing steadied. His pulse evened out. The gray drained from his skin. By the time Mara leaned back, rolling her sore shoulders, he was asleep, not the restless twitch of pain, but the deep, steady rhythm of healing. She exhaled, tugging off her gloves. Around her, a small circle of medics stood watching silently. One finally spoke. "How did you know to do that?" Mara glanced up. "Experience," she said. "And caring more about the patient than the paperwork." The sound of another helicopter rolled across the camp, heavier, deeper, command-grade engines. The kind that only carried people who made rules, not followed them. Mara didn't have to look. She already knew who it was. Colonel Rourke stepped out minutes later, scanning the camp with that battlefield stillness only true leaders have. When he saw her by the medical tent, he walked over, no swagger, no rank, just mutual recognition. "How is he?" he asked. "He'll live," Mara said. "Just needed someone who's seen this kind of wound before. And you just happened to be here." She allowed herself the faintest smile. "I'm always available for my people, Colonel. That's what the patch stands for." He studied her for a long moment. "I thought Iron Nomad was disbanded." "Officially," she said. "But you can't shut down caring with a memo. Some things stay alive as long as someone remembers why they mattered." 20 minutes later, Mara was back on a transport heading south, the sun sinking over the horizon like a smoldering ember. Across from her sat the same young corpsman from before. His eyes were different now, respect replacing curiosity. "What you did back there," he said quietly. "Is that what Iron Nomad really was?" Mara looked out the window at the endless gold of the desert, the long shadows stretching toward nowhere. "Iron Nomad was whatever it needed to be," she said. "Sometimes that meant going places others couldn't. Sometimes it meant doing things others wouldn't. But mostly..." She looked back at him. "It meant showing up when someone needed you to." He nodded slowly, thoughtful. "Do you miss it?" She was silent for a while. The hum of the engine filled the space between them. Then she turned to him with a faint, tired smile. "Kid," she said softly, "it never really ended. It just got quieter." The helicopter flew on, carrying a woman who didn't officially exist, returning from a mission that would never make a report, having saved a life that almost didn't get counted. Because sometimes the real heroes are the ones who show up without orders, without credit, without permission, and do the right thing anyway.